Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. We're continuing our look at some of the gifts we received over the past month for the channel. This one was a Christmas gift to me by my brother. We're looking at the Studio Series version of Thrust. Of course, this is the version of Thrust from Bumblebee. So, in essence, he's basically a repaint and a slight retool of Studio Starscream from the same film. Right down to having the exact same accessories. At least one of them is in a different color. And, of course, having the same backdrop, which depicts Cybertron. Now, I don't mind them using the same areas from the movie when making some of these guys, but it would be nice if they would vary the backdrops a little bit. That way it would give many of us collectors, if we're going to display them with the backdrop, give us something where we can set it up to be more of a panoramic backdrop. So that way it would look kind of nicer. But, then again, that's just one man's opinion. Does not necessarily reflect that of Hasbro's. And any of you that's a collector of Hasbro toys, we all know how that is. But at any rate, here's Thrust. Now, if I gotta have a major gripe about Thrust, well, it's not going to be about the fact that he's a retool. I mean, let's face it, the Generation 1 toy was basically a retool as well. But it's the color choice. Thrust here is depicted in a green color. And for any of you who saw my videos on the Siege toys, you'll remember that Acid Storm was the one that was in green. Thrust here should have been more in a maroon or magenta color. So I guess that's something we'll just have to overlook. Because, once again, Hollywood just doesn't get it. Hopefully they'll get it when Rise of the Beasts comes out this year. I'm holding on to some hope for that, folks. And at any rate, like I said, Thrust here uses the exact same mold as Starscream. So he's going to come out somewhat the same. Although I will admit on mine, I do have a little bit of trouble with the wingtips. The wingtips don't exactly always want to lock into the position they're supposed to. I don't know if it's just the way mine was engineered, or if that's common with all thrusts. If anybody else is having problems with the wingtips on their studio figures, shout it out in the comments. I'd love to hear about that. At any rate, let's take a look at Thrust's accessories. We'll start with his hand cannon. It's done up in the exact same style as Starscream's. Save for the fact that Starscream's back here is blue, whereas here it's kind of an olive green. And I believe Starscream's got black gun barrels, whereas this is more of a dark gray. And then, of course, lastly for the accessories are these two black guns that are attached to his wings. And these are exactly like the ones that came with Starscream. They basically have a notch on the one side for connecting them in a different way. They also have they're also hollow on the back side with a post for attaching. And then, of course, there's one that's set up in the opposite direction. So do bear that in mind if you do buy this toy loose. Alright, let's take a look at Thrust's articulation. And Well, his head is turnable like Starscream's. Unfortunately, you really can't move it much due to the cone head on the back behind him, so it doesn't allow for much movement. His arms raise up about so far, and they do rotate at the shoulder all the way, but you will have to shift the arm so it clears past the wing. His arms do bend at the elbow greater than 90 degrees. And he does feature a swiveling at his bicep. Let's see, thrust can be twisted a bit at his hips, but again, his wings restrict a lot of how much movement he can do with that. You can spread his legs apart into a full splits. He also does have a thigh cut, so you can adjust his legs at the thigh. You can raise his leg at the hip 90 degrees, and you can bend his leg at the knee 90 degrees. Excuse me, we seem to be having some problems backstage. Okay, now that we got that fixed, lighting platform gave out on me. Let's start to transform thrust. Of course, the first step that they show in the instructions is to remove the guns, and we've already done that. The next bit will be to take these black pieces here on his chest and fold them inwards. Then they show us we turn him around so that we can fold his hands into his arms. Then we come up to his wings. We're going to kind of straighten them out and fold in the sides. Rotate down the wingtips as they've already let gravity do it. Then we fold up the side panels and rotate the wings so they come downwards. As I stated earlier, this is where part of the problem comes for mine. For some reason, mine's kind of warped or something, because it does not rotate the way it should. And I can assure you folks, this was a brand new figure. But for some reason, he's kind of wonky on how those wings work. And we fold down the piece down here beneath his cockpit. Take that as you may. And of course, we're going to turn his arms around at the bicep, and then raise them so they're pointing straight at us. Then we come down here to his legs. We're going to open up the front covers and extend them out all the way to the side. Like so. On his right leg here, we're going to shift out and fold out the pieces for the tail fin. It's only on the right leg. And then we fold out these light gray pieces. They've got a little notch in here, and those should line up and connect to the holes on his thighs. There we go. That gets them lined up. Now, of course, once they're connected, we're going to pick him up so that we can insert his feet inside his legs. Then we're going to rotate the legs so that it brings the tail fins to face forwards. And of course, once that's done, we got to fold down these side panels, and then we're going to fold in these little plastic flaps because they'll eventually come together. And we come up here to his wings, We're going to fold the wings so they're positioned like so. And also got to raise up the headpiece, because now we're going to rotate everything like so. So that his legs fold up onto his back. Now, of course, once we've done that, we come down here beneath him. We're going to open up this section here so we can get the nose out. Fold the nose out and snap it into place without moving everything. There we go. Then we come back here to his arms. They're going to separate at the shoulder. And fold inwards like so. That one's a little stiff. Excuse me while I get a tool. Okay, we finally got that one freed. So we can fold it inward like so. And then you bend the arms at the elbows like so to fold them downwards. Get this wing back in position here. Then this front flap here, we're going to close it back up. And then we fold it downwards like so. Then we're going to come up here top side. The legs should connect back here at the tail to form it solid. And then there's a couple of posts that were on the legs, and they should connect onto the back. And of course, once you've got that done, you can plug the gun into this post here at the bottom. And then the little black guns, they can be connected onto the wings. You can use either of the posts, doesn't really matter which. And then there you have it. Thrust is now in his alternate mode of a Cybertronian Tetrajet. As you can see, like I said, there's this one wing on mine. It doesn't want to look right. All in all, it does look a little bit more impressive than the ones we got in the Siege line. Since everybody complained about those being simply the legs were getting folded under the jet, so a lot of people didn't really care for that. As we get to my thoughts, well, I've got issues with thrust here. Now, I don't know if it's specifically just my thrust, or if this is a common occurrence with every other thrust that's out there. But for whatever reason, even though this toy was basically a simple redo of Starscream, and Starscream turned out pretty good for me, thrust here turned out to be more of a pain in the butt. As I stated earlier, one of the wings is apparently not done right, because it doesn't want to rotate or get into the proper position correctly. So that's obviously a bit of a design flaw. And for some reason, I've always had trouble with the one shoulder not wanting to detach to allow it to transform. So, unfortunately, since I don't know if this is common with other thrust toys or if it's just mine, it makes it hard to like this figure as much as I enjoyed Starscream. And no offense to my brother on this, because he took what he could find in terms of finding a Transformer toy for me for Christmas, so I can't blame him. But I do blame Hasbro for if this was such a simple thing, how did you mess it up? At any rate, that's my review of the Studio Series version of Thrust from the movie Bumblebee. I hope everybody enjoyed it. And if you do enjoy the content that we post here on this channel, please do remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, because we do enjoy the feedback here. Now, next week on the channel, we've got a very special gift that was sent to us from a very special person, and it's also something that's a first to being shown on the channel. So, please do look forward to that. This is Sparkster1701 saying I'll catch you all later.